Hi, and welcome to Toking Points. You're tuned in with me, Swaggy Roaches, founder of the pro-cannabis band Stony Doom, and now we're expanding our network in exciting new ways. This is the place where we dive into deep, honest conversations with guests from the music scene, the cannabis world, and beyond. On Toking Points, we're here to break down the stigma, share personal stories, and normalize cannabis culture. From artists to activists, we're opening up the conversation about what cannabis means in today's world and how it's shaping lives, careers, and communities. This segment is proudly brought to you by The Stash Underground Rock and Metal, the home for all things heavy and high. Before we get started, just a quick note. Many of the topics we cover are still controversial. Some of our guests have taken real risks, putting their livelihoods and privacy on the line to share their personal experiences. So while this content is open to the public, we ask that you respect the privacy and lives of those who've shared their stories with us. Now, let's spark up and talk about it. Good evening, I am here with Josh. Also of Buzzard Fight. This is our second time with a second member of a band, referencing Gurney, who we've had two members of on this show now. So here's to Buzzard Fight and their second member joining us on Toking Points. So we're going to kick this episode off with a little bit of a fun episode, or a fun question, excuse me. What is the most interesting way you've ever consumed cannabis? It could be like any kind of a makeshift device or edibles of some sort that you've made. You can be creative.
So I I kind of was thinking about this question because you sent them over so I can think about it a little bit. And believe me, I've made plenty of like soda can and foil with a pencil and my thumb pipes throughout my many, many years of smoking.
Sure.
But ones that I thought of, there was like two specific ones. One was a method somebody showed me where if you've got like a little bit of shake in your bag, but you still want to smoke, if you have a car that has like the old school like push in type lighter, push it in, get it hot, and then you like sprinkle the weed on it, and it's like it's almost like freebasing it, but it works.
Hey, yeah.
So to get like that little bit. And then the other thing that I really thought of that was hilarious to me was went to Ozfest 99 back in the day with all my buddies. We were like 14 and in high school. And it's all these metal bands all day. It's like we'd seen Slipknot for the very first time ever, like for earlier that day. And then
Mhm.
Primus comes on. So everybody on the lawn just sits down. And this dude's like, "Hey man, I bought a bong over at the thing. Like, anybody got any water or anything?" Nobody had water. Somebody put Diet Pepsi in it. And that thing like passed around a little bit, and it was, I think I hit it once and I was like, "Nope, I'm good, guys. Nope."
Icky.
But those were the two that really came to mind when I was thinking about that.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So you got me thinking on the cigarette car lighter. I've never heard that. That's a pretty good one. That sounds better than the pop can in aluminum foil, honestly. So whose car lighter were you using, and was it getting caked up with resin?
Not really. I think it was when I was in high school, and it was mine, like in the car that I had.
Uh,
Um, and it actually just kind of burned off and then left the ash, and you just kind of tapped the ash out. And because
Perfect.
it was like if you just had that little bit of shake that wasn't enough for a bowl, but you wanted to get a couple hits or whatever, like
Yeah.
it was that kind of thing. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty good. I have not heard that one. Yeah, that's like the OG herb vaporizer, huh?
pretty much. Yeah.
I dig it. Okay, so we're going to talk about creativity. Has cannabis ever inspired or enhanced your creativity? If so, can you share a specific moment when it sparked something?
I mean, I think so. I mean, I feel like I've always smoked weed when I've played or written music.
Yeah.
So, sometimes it just kind of gets you in the right mindset more than anything, almost. But what was I thinking of here? Yeah. I mean, one thing is sometimes if we're writing songs or I'm like listening to music and trying to think of stuff, like it'll let me hear it in a different way almost, is kind of what I'm thinking. Like, you know, you kind of sit there and you've like heard something and I'm the drummer in the band, I guess. So it's like, okay, that pattern's not working, that fill's not working or whatever. And a lot of times we'll have like scratch tracks recorded that we'll listen to. And sometimes you just like take a break from it and then smoke a big old joint and I'll just listen to it again. And then sometimes it just kind of like hits you like, okay, let me try this. Like I think our song Bubba Platinum, it's the big long one at the end of our album. In the second half of that, there's this part our bass player Patty always talks about. He's like, I still don't know how you wrote that part. And I'm like, I'm not really sure either. Because there's this part at the end where it's like I'm doing a straight like double kick part, and then it's this weird, complicated like hi-hat snare combo beat that just hits perfectly in the way that the song works. And it just kind of like came almost out of like frustration and thinking about it, and then like smoking a bowl and calming down, and it kind of came to me. So
Pretty
that's
cool.
definitely one specific example. But yeah, I mean, I like being high and being in nature. It feels
Yeah.
like it inspires me. So
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Connecting with the earth.
yeah,
Literally.
yeah, I'm a big hiker and backpacker. So it always comes with me on trips when I can. So
Do you feel like cannabis and drug culture influenced your taste in music growing up? You talked about smoking at a pretty early age, like myself.
yeah, um, yeah. I mean, yes and no. I've always been that person that kind of listens to like been open to listening to lots and lots of types of music, but I mean, me and my friends, I guess we were really punk rock kids kind of all through high school and all that, and got into metal and all that stuff too, but I don't know if the cannabis drove me there or just the love of the music and the people
Mm,
more. Because
yeah.
like metal has a really good community vibe. Like, I've felt unsafe at country shows that I've gone to, but I've never felt unsafe at a metal show, like that kind of thing.
You're
And
not the
so
first person
maybe
that
it
has
was,
said exactly that in an interview before.
yeah, like
Not for this, not for this show, but somebody else has said exactly that before, and I feel you.
yeah,
We could talk about a little bit about social situations. How do you feel about cannabis compared to other intoxicating substances? Um, how do you feel about it in social situations, things like that?
yeah. I guess me and most of my kind of core friends, I'm a weird, lucky 40-year-old person that has like the same friends I've had since high school. One of my friends I've known since we were like five, but we've always kind of, smoked together and all of that. So in our social situations, like in that friend group, pretty much always around and like, always kind of a thing. But I worked in restaurants and bars and owned a restaurant for like 4 or 5 years, but was in that industry for probably 15 years for one point. And I recently quit drinking too, in July, because it was just, I was going down a bad road with alcohol. And I've never felt that way about marijuana. It's always just kind of relaxed me, taking the edge off. But sometimes I would turn into that person if I drank, where you kind of become the other and you're way more animated or you get angrier or that. And never had those issues with weed, but it's part of the reason I quit drinking, I guess, too. But um, I'm glad too that weed is really kind of, and cannabis is like becoming more accepted in mainstream culture too. I mean, like my mom like loves Snoop Dogg now, like just that kind of stuff where it's almost kind of that thing where it's like alcohol and cannabis are almost having a flip flop moment where a lot of the younger culture doesn't really want to drink or have much alcohol in their life, but they, you know, kind of gravitate more towards cannabis or psychedelics and mushrooms and some of those kind of things. And I think that's kind of a reflection of society growing and people growing and kind of changing their views about something that they know is harmful. When in the past, everybody just kind of drank because that's what you were supposed to do. And now everybody doesn't necessarily do that.
Yeah, it's interesting the influence that social groups, social norms, and the media, the power that those have
Hmm.
over, the way we think and the way we think about different substances and what's acceptable and what's not supposed to be acceptable.
Yeah. And even with, cannabis going a little more mainstream and it kind of being around more, it's like I'm still like a flower, like I like to smoke joints and like that kind of thing.
Hmm.
Like edibles just straight up don't work on me. I'm one of those weird people.
Hmm.
But it's like everybody's like, "Oh, you can't smoke," but like we're all high as shit on edibles. I'm like, "What's the difference? I'll just go stand away from the group for a minute and then I'll come back and we're all in the same boat." Like,
Right.
so it's like,
That.
yes, yeah. So there's that little stigma still there, but I can deal with
Yep.
that part.
Yep.
So
That's what I like about it. The one of the many things I like about it, so many different ways to chop it up. You can smoke it,
yeah,
you can eat it, uh, topicals, all kinds, drink it. So,
yeah.
yep, it's very, very inclusive, let's say.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about your first time using cannabis. Can you tell me about that experience? What led you into wanting to try it? What was your thought process like?
So this is gonna sound weird, but I was maybe 12 and it was with my uncle on the back deck of my grandparents' house.
Yeah.
I knew what weed was because I was kind of a latchkey kid growing up. So like I was a little wiser than my age when I was, in like my preteen years and all of
Huh?
that. So I knew, and like, I'd go and I guess my uncle is a lot younger than the rest of my parents. He's Korean and adopted. So he was always kind of like the cool uncle because he was like, 30 and all our parents are old or whatever, that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But
Of course.
so we'd always hang out with him when I was at my grandparents' house, and he was out there smoking or whatever, and he's like, "You want some?" And I was just like he didn't like pressure me into it or anything. I was just like, "All right, let's try it out." So, and I think, took a couple hits, and I think I remember that first time I was just like, I'm tired, and I like went and took a nap, like because I didn't quite know, and you know I think, and then I don't know if I really thought anything of it. I was like oh, I know I'll probably get in trouble if my parents find out kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But, you know, I was always just really, really curious. I've always been a curious person. I was a really curious kid. So I think it was like that, well, try anything once, just to kind of see. It's like, well, everybody says this is bad. Let's try it once and find out. I feel
Yeah.
like I'm in a safe place if something bad
Yeah.
happens, that kind of thing.
Definitely.
Yeah, nothing really happened other than I took a nap for like 2 hours in the middle of the day. But uh yeah, and then, kind of experimented with friends and stuff from then on out. And, you know,
Yeah.
I was in high school in like the late 90s, early 2000s, so there was a lot of Mexican brick weed and all kinds
Definitely.
of stuff like that. So yeah,
Yep. Yep. Uh,
but
did it feel like very long before you were talking about it with your friends, experimenting with your friends? Very, very much time lapse from you trying it to finding out that your friends were trying it, or them becoming curious about it.
yeah, I mean, probably around then, like 12, 13, something like that was when we were all kind of curious, or, probably there and through like the beginning of high school.
Yep.
Maybe everybody kind of had experience or talked to each other about it and that kind of thing. So, and then it turned into us building forts in the woods so we could go smoke weed. So,
Totally, totally. A pop-up question, not on our little list. If you could tell your younger self a piece of advice, any piece of advice about cannabis or smoking or anything, what do you think it would be? Just give me something.
probably just to be safe. Because I think I remember a few times when I was younger, like just tried to, and it's not really this way now with dispensaries and the way everything is, but like that your regular guy's out of weed, the other guy's out of weed, and then you're like, this other guy, but then, it was kind of before cell phones, and you're just like, well, I'm just gonna go show up at this guy's house and ask if I can buy drugs. So, that would probably be my thing is just be safe, know what it is, where you're getting it from, that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
boy, yeah, that's a stark realization between you and I. At least I had cell phones as a teenager, so I didn't have to go into it that blindly. But I
Yeah.
I can relate with that situation quite a bit at least. So
Yeah, and then even before you could drive, it would be like, you and your friends pool some money together and you give like 50, $60, which when you're 14 is a ton of money to some dude that's like, yeah, I can get you bag. And then you're like, are we ever gonna see this guy again? Like what happened? Like
yep,
so
you've got to front it. It's not an even swap. He's gonna go pick it up for us.
yeah.
Great. Yeah, the good thing about legalization, folks, is you mitigate those very strange, unnecessary experiences.
Yep, definitely.
Here's a fun one. Describe your dream cannabis infused meal from appetizer to dessert.
So I thought about this one because I owned a restaurant, worked in that business. I hate the term foodie, but I guess I am one kind of thing. Um, but then I'm also in that weird position where like I'm that one weirdo where like edibles just never seem to work. Um, I've kind of looked into it, and I guess there's like some specific liver enzyme that if you have too much or too little of it, you either metabolize it too fast or too slow, and
Okay.
that kind of thing.
Mhm.
So, but if it did work and it would work, I mean, it would probably just be a really badass like tasting menu type of situation of infused foods. So, some kind of cool little like amuse boost like Christini bite that's maybe like I'm gonna sound super bougie and I'm so sorry, but like if I'm gonna be like ultimate experience, like
It's your plate.
little, little like cannabis infused fake caviar gel balls on
Okay.
like a Christini to start with. Some kind of cool super salad maybe for the second course, maybe incorporating actual like cannabis leaves into the salad would be
Mhm.
fun.
Yeah.
Um, and then just like a really good like butter poached fish or like butter basted steak, maybe both depending on the courses. But that butter is cannabis butter that you're using to kind of infuse everything.
Of course.
So, and then dessert, I feel like it's like wide open spaces. There's so many options. So, just I'm a big key lime pie fan, so probably
Oh,
just maybe a cannabis key lime pie.
that would be
So,
killer. Yeah, I've not come across that at all yet. I'm sure that's, plenty common of a thing. Yeah. Oh, I need that. So you seem to know your way around foods. I'm not a very big foodie, but I can appreciate it. Um, have you made, and you're not very big on edibles, and that's okay too. Neither am I. They don't work great on me, or they just make me way too tired, and
yeah,
I'd prefer to just take the ramp all the way to the top still, but just taking that ramp.
yeah.
So, but as a someone who knows your way around food and stuff, have you made very many edibles of your own? Have you ever
A little
experimented
bit.
with that?
I kind of at one point in my life got into like learning how to make can of butter and like
Uh-huh.
infused oil and all of that,
Yeah.
and kind of made some of that. And I think uh, when I was married, when I got married way too young, one of my friends got me like an edibles cookbook, and it actually had like really good like systems and recipes for making butter and oil. So I tried kind of working through that and like using their method. The recipes they had were just bad. They just weren't good cookies. Like so I didn't end up making those, but yeah, I've made some cookies and brownies and stuff and but it's always one of those like, did I do it right? Because I wasn't ever sure if edibles worked. So
Yeah, yeah, sure. You had to test it on other people. I'm sure it's at other
yeah,
people's request kind of thing. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep. It's fun to do every now and then, but yeah, I'm kind of the same way. And I'm not personally too big on edibles.
Yeah, and I've done it recent. The only time I did it recently is I've got like an arizer, like vaporizer, kind of the poor man's volcano, if you will.
Yeah, yeah,
And I'll save all like my used up stuff from that and use that to like infuse into stuff
yeah. Oh,
every now and
nice.
then
That's
once you get
cool.
enough.
I've heard
So
that. Yeah, I've heard of that.
yeah, because it's still got enough juice in it, but you have to like, soak it basically.
Yep. And
So
the decarb something process really helps to milk that
yeah,
all
because
out.
it decarbs it, yeah, when it's in the vaporizer and like heating it, and then
Yeah.
it's like ready to just hang out and like steep for a long time, and you can make a tincture out of it or like,
hmm
use it into oil and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So many options. Beautiful.
Yeah.
How would you convince your grandmother to try CBD oil or any cannabis product? Let's just assume your grandparents aren't necessarily. It's
Yeah.
totally vague conversation here. But how would you convince a family member, let's say, to come around to utilizing cannabis products?
I actually did it with my mom in 2019. So my sister lives out in Colorado. So she got married in 2019. So we were all in Colorado for the wedding. And that was before it was legal in Missouri and like a lot of the states around here too.
Uh-huh.
Um, while we were there, I have Tourette syndrome. Um, so it's cannabis is really one of the things that like helps control that for me too.
Yeah, I've heard.
My mom also has it. It's kind of a genetic thing that you passed on.
Okay.
Um, so when we were out there at Colorado, had a little bit too much at the wedding, a little bit too much to drink at the wedding reception, and just like kind of had the heart to heart with my mom. And I'm like, Mom, it's weed. It's the only thing that works. And I was like, you're here for another week. It's legal. Go to the dispensary, try it. And then my stepdad sitting next to us, like while we're talking, he just leans over and he's like, Well, Beth, you should. Like, he's like, it's not against the rules when you're here. So, like, yeah, the next day I took my mom to a dispensary in Colorado and helped her buy edibles for the first time. And then once some of the ones finally opened in Missouri, I went with her for the first time there to help her figure out what would work. Because um, at the time too, she was going through leukemia and like chemo and some stuff for that too.
Yeah,
It wasn't a really hardcore case, luckily, but like it really helped her with a lot of the like the chemo side effects and some of that kind of stuff. So
that's
yeah,
great. That's
so
great.
I guess that's
And
it.
may I ask, is she dealing with that as a resident of Kansas or Missouri or otherwise?
She lives in Missouri,
Okay.
so
So
she lives in Missouri now. So
so she's at least fortunate to
yeah, they just
have
go.
access, legal access.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, it's not an all the time thing for her. I think it's just she kind of
Sure.
will have half a gummy to go to sleep kind of stuff. But it was nice to at least kind of it was really a weird time too because it's like that. This is the woman that got me in like I got in trouble with multiple
hmm
times as a teenager for getting caught smoking weed and getting yelled at, and now I'm like,
Yeah.
but mom, it's weed, and she's like, okay, like
Asking you for advice on, yeah, how to go about it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yep.
because like the first time she went to the dispensary when they opened, they gave her like RSO,
Mm.
and she's got arthritis too, but they gave her like the little syringe thing, and I'm
Yeah.
like, why did you guys give that to her? So like she like super overdosed herself by accident the first time because
Oh,
it's like on that
dude.
RSO stuff it's like grain of rice all you need and like a bowl of cereal kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
She did like double or triple by accident.
Okay.
So it was a funny story like at family dinner like a month
Yeah.
later.
Aw. Yeah. Learning experiences. Most of us go
Yeah,
through those.
because I remember she called me and she was like, "Do you want this stuff?" I don't like it. It was too
Aw.
strong. Like, so it was
Uh,
fun.
well, I'm glad that you have been able to pass on the benefits and that someone has found relief from that. That's always inspiring.
Yeah, it's been good.
So, a little change of pace on this one. Have you or someone you care about ever been in legal trouble over cannabis?
I have.
Mm.
And I mean, I feel like I know a ton of people that have just, gotten like simple possession or, they got pulled over and had a little bit in their car, that kind of thing. And that's kind of what happened to me. I think I got pulled over once and I didn't even have any weed, but I just had a pipe in my center console. So, and that, you know, turns into a whole thing and you got to go to court and all of it. And it was just like, man, it's just a pipe that I forgot was in there, you know, wasn't high when I was driving when I got pulled over. It was just like, accidentally, you know, the late red light kind of thing.
Yep,
So, um, yeah, and that's happened maybe a couple times, but luckily that's all that's ever really been come up with me or any of the friends that I've had. So,
sure, sure.
but I know it's a
Could always be
other people
worse.
have tougher times with it.
Yeah, yeah, it could always
Yeah.
be worse, but it could certainly also not have to deal with that at all. That certainly sucks getting in legal trouble over having a pipe and not even being intoxicated. That doesn't quite seem right.
Yeah. And now, I mean, most places you just get a ticket for something like that. Like, I mean, most
Sure,
places, even if marijuana is not necessarily legal, they've decriminalized it, and you
they're
just kind of,
starting to,
I'm
yep,
just going to
yep.
take that and give you.
Yep, the whole state of Nebraska was
So,
decriminalized for a while, and now they've, I believe, are introducing medical now or very soon. Um, I was just told earlier today that I guess Kansas is looking to introduce a bill for decriminalization. Obviously, they're still fighting for medical constantly, but
yeah,
decriminalization as
hopefully,
well.
yeah, and that'd be good. I
Yep.
know Lawrence specifically, I think, has.
Yes, it's
So,
like a dollar fine. I think I was told something like that.
somebody told me like a $10 ticket or something,
Okay,
but
but yeah,
yeah,
10K, it's a
but
fine. Hey,
something, whatever it is. So,
a
but
lot less
yeah,
of a hassle.
and I'm hoping if the Nebraska stuff goes through that like Kansas will kind of get their shit together and finally, because I mean, I know I've seen stuff where some of the like state senators and stuff like that are like, you guys realize how much money we're losing because like everybody here just goes across the border to Missouri and
Right.
gets what they need and comes back.
Getting none of it.
I remember when some of the dispensaries opened, they were like, we miscalculated the cross border like revenue that was going to come, and like that's why places were running out at first and all that.
Oh
So
yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah, I hope they kind of come around in the next couple years. So
There's a
because
lot
I mean,
of
basically once it's Nebraska, that's everybody on their
everybody.
border because
Everybody with
Oklahoma and Nebraska would at least have medical,
at
and
least a
then
medical
yeah,
program. Yep, and us with none. So hopefully we get on board soon because yeah, there's single digits of states left with no legal program at all, and Kansas is one of them. So we'll see what happens this year, but with our last couple minutes, we'll wrap up. Josh, keep spreading the word, fighting a good fight. I appreciate you sitting down and chatting with me a little bit about your personal experiences and your stories with cannabis and the social surroundings of that.
yeah, man, it was a great time. Thanks for
Yeah,
having me.
absolutely.